Hello friends, this is Jason White. Welcome to the Great Outdoors. Special thanks to our sponsors, the Marion Outdoorsman Association. If you'd like to join the MOA as it's called, you can go to marianaoutdoors.com. They're running a special for the rest of 2023. You get a membership for free, and then you get all of 2024. Also, special thanks to Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds. If you'd ever like to book an upland bird hunt, or if you'd like to schedule a free-ranging whitetail deer and also a free-ranging turkey hunt, check them out, 10mileco.org. Again, 10mileco.org. You can call 724-579-0924 for additional information. Again, that's Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds. And also, last but not least, Washington County Travel, Tourism, and Promotion Agency. Really cannot thank all three of these sponsors enough for their tireless support, and just can't say thanks enough. Well, it's almost Thanksgiving here in Pennsylvania, and what does that mean? That means bear season is wrapping up, number one, which by the looks of social media and different news reports, it seems like the bear season has been pretty good to some. Seen a lot of rather large bears. I know some of my own personal friends didn't get any, but that's okay. It's about those annual trips to the mountains, those stories with your friends, times at the cabin, just the camaraderie, that annual partnership. If you've done it and experienced it, certainly you understand. I myself am not a huge bear hunter. I certainly enjoy deer, turkey, upland birds, trout fishing, king salmon fishing, etc. Those are kind of my thing, and I love traveling out west. But to each their own. Bear hunting in Pennsylvania is certainly a pastime, and if you get the opportunity next year in 2024, you should take the time and try to join a group and have that experience. But on the front burner here, whitetail deer season, rifle season is about to open up this upcoming Saturday. Super excited. I'm personally very, very excited about it. It's definitely a enjoyable experience for me. I could tell you stories of first deer I ever shot. Shot a little 5-point. Actually, my dad and I worked on building a tree stand, a wooden tree stand, out in the woods. Almost, I don't want to call it like a clubhouse, but it was definitely a tree stand. But thinking back on it, thinking like a little kid, it made me think of like a tree house. But I'll never forget just that cool frosted morning, and I remember just being up in that tree stand and daylight breaking, and then the woods coming to life, and just being groggy. Can you think about it, being a 12-year-old kid being groggy, and I can remember fighting my eyelids, trying to stay awake, and I'm sitting there just kind of nodding off, and my dad nudges me. And, at that time, I'm much shorter than my dad. I was a little kid. And he's like, here's a buck. And I was like, didn't see what he was looking at. And here there was a 2x4, like a crossbar going. And it was right in my vantage point where I couldn't see it. Anyways, a few moments go by. I see it. Pulled up the old pump 30-06. And stuck two in the deer real fast. The deer didn't go very far, and that was my first experience. I'll never forget that story. What a treat! What a blessing that was, and to have that memory that I'll always have. And I love the opportunities to not only make memories, but also to introduce people to the outdoors and to get people really engaged in enjoying hunting. And it's not always about harvesting or even killing a deer. It's about being one with nature. It's about that balance of life. It's about, being able to go out and enjoy your surroundings, being able to pass on experiences, being able to pass on knowledge to the next generation. Um, so some of the things I'd like to pass on, I'd like to start off with just some safety things. It's very, very critical. Everybody, if you haven't taken a hunter safety course, even if you're somebody that's been hunting for years, I would highly recommend even the Game Commission, and there are even other agencies that have online tutorials, basic safety practices. It doesn't hurt to pull it up on your cell phone or get on a computer and YouTube or Google. Not advocating for any platform of any kind, but I'm just throwing it out there that there's a lot of ways to just get a little educational refresher. And if not, by all means, for those that want to get engaged in the outdoors, highly recommend you go that route. Or also, go research when the Game Commission and or any clubs are hosting any introductory hunting and trapping classes. But it's super important to know the basics 101 of hunting. Clearly, that's kind of the foundation of you getting out in the woods. But I bring this up because, I've had past shows where I've talked about archery hunting, archery tactics. Rifle hunting and rifle tactics in Pennsylvania are very broad. They can be very different. It depends on the terrain. It depends where you're at in Pennsylvania. And it also depends on your personal preference and choices. So why do I say that? Well, first of all, depending on where you are, depends on how far you're shooting. So, there's going to be people that want to shoot with open sights. Open sights would be no scope. I mean, basically, you're using the metal right on the scope or right on the gun to actually be able to shoot. Very challenging, very rewarding. Clearly, if you can pull that off. But that is a tactic for closer, more up close and personal encounters. I would assume 100 yards or less. I personally have not done this outside of a muzzleloader. But, absolutely. If you want a challenging experience, no scope is definitely the way to go. Now, if you're going to use a scope, depending on what kind of rifle you're using, clearly you need to practice. You need to match up the scope with the gun. The higher the caliber, you need to make sure you have a quality style scope that's going to match that gun. I cannot stress that enough. I can't tell you how many people that I've met that went and bought, a $3,000 high-powered rifle and then go and buy a chintzy cheap scope, shoot it a handful of times, and then next thing you know, like they can't get it to get sighted in. Well, the reason is some of these scopes are not designed for that impact and force that some of these higher caliber rifles are putting out. They're putting off a lot of force. So there's a lot of shock wave, etc., concussion from the rifle. So you need to make sure, that your gun matches up with the scope. I shouldn't need to say this, but I'm going to say it. For goodness sakes, folks, please check your sight rings, the rings that mount your scope to the gun. Make sure that it's tight. That might sound some people might be like, yeah. Trust me, I've seen it happen. Literally have seen it happen where somebody showed up with loose scopes on multiple occasions. It's not a slight at anybody. It's just an oversight. It's a mistake. Make sure your scope mounts are snug. Make sure, again, the gun and the scope match up. That's critical. Your gunsmith can give you guidance on that. If not, you can always, wherever you're buying your guns, at whatever dealer, same thing. They can give you guidance on what you're doing. Highly recommend buying scopes with lifetime warranties. That way, if you ever have any issues, you can always get them refurbished or potentially even changed out for brand new. But that's like very, very critical right out of the gate. The next thing is, you know, when you're going to sight your gun in here, depending on what you're trying to do, depending on distance, you know, if you're just planning on hunting 100 yards in the woods, 200 yards in the woods, you might not be too concerned with being able to, I'll just say, cut holes on the gun range. Every gun is different. Every gun, in my opinion, and I'm sure if you talk to anybody that's really big into rifles, will tell you every gun takes certain grain of bullet, type of bullet, grains of powder, etc. They're all different. It's just about trying to figure out the concoction of what, or recipe, as some like to call it, of what your gun takes. Again, you might be okay with just buying manufacturer loads if you're hunting in the woods and you're not shooting very far. Now, if you're somebody that wants to challenge yourself, or if you're in a position where, hey, you might have to shoot 300 yards, 400 yards, 500 yards, 600, 700, 800 yards, you definitely, number one, need to practice. Number two, you need to be extremely confident in the ammunition that you're using, because I can tell you from personal experience, once you get beyond 250 yards, the type of ammunition you use can have a humongous impact on your effectiveness, your accuracy, bullet movements with the wind. So that's very, very important, is to find the ammunition that matches up. Now, me personally, especially when I'm doing guided hunts, I use such a wide array for people. Clearly, you want to accommodate people's skill sets. You know, if somebody's comfortable being in a ladder stand, shooting 100 yards, then that's what you put them at. You don't outreach you don't run before you can walk. People that are capable of shooting 300 yards, hey, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. You know, I always want to see somebody be able to do it. Do you know where to aim on a deer with your particular gun? That is huge. It's very critical that people know and understand what their bullet does every 100 yards or even every 50 yards as it drops. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to harvest an animal. But there's two big factors that I can't stress enough. When you go to pull the trigger on a deer, number one, you want to harvest it. You do not want to be wounding an animal. You need to be able to successfully fill that tag. But before you ever even do that, before you ever even pull that trigger, the number one thing that you will learn hunting 101 is identify your target and its surroundings. And what does that mean? That means, you know, if you see the biggest buck in the world, but you look behind it and 200 yards in a field, there's another hunter. Do you pull the trigger? The answer is no. You don't pull the trigger. It's very, very critical that you not only identify the animal, but also your surroundings for safety purposes. Safety should be the number one thing in your hunting playbook, in your hunting arsenal, in your hunting dictionary, vocabulary, etc. Because, you know, shooting that deer is not worth hurting, injuring, or killing somebody. It's just not. And, you know, reminding people about safety is, I think, important. I hope that maybe this will be a safety talk that you just gets you to remind yourself that, you know, when you go out into the woods, I hope it is. I hope that you pull up on that big buck and you have a great shot, tremendous opportunity with no issues, and you're able to seal the deal. But that being said, please, 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 if you're going to pull up on a deer, please make sure that you have a clear shot, that you've identified your target, and that you've identified your surroundings, that you have a good backstop. Because you got to understand something. Some of these high-powered rifles can shoot miles. You know, you got to have a good backstop. Bullet goes zinging, could easily travel for miles, could potentially injure or, even kill somebody. And we don't want that. We don't want to hear these horror stories, on the news. So please, that is another thing. Just identify your target, identify your surroundings. Hey, everybody, something really basic and simple. The orange. Fluorescent orange is required in the state of Pennsylvania. Please make sure orange vest, orange hat at an absolute minimum. The square inch standards are mandatory in Pennsylvania. If you don't know it, make sure you pull up your rule book, just as a refresher. But standard, the vest, the hat, if you want to do beyond that, I have gloves I wear sometimes. Sometimes I've seen people with like leg bands. Sometimes I've seen people with even more orange with like a camo outfit. Look, it's worth the being safe. You don't want somebody shooting at you in your direction. It's for your own safety. So don't be foolish. Don't take the orange vest off. Don't try to circumvent safety. Safety's for you as much as for everybody else. So highly recommended. The other thing I wanted to mention is, a lot of you, I'm sure, have been out sighting in your guns, getting your belongings together. I hope if you're going out in tree stands, I really, really, really hope that you went out and at least checked your tree stand, made sure those ratchet straps were good, nothing was dry rotted, nothing was rusted and falling apart, because the last thing you want to do is be going up in a tree stand in the dark and something give way, something break, you fall out of a tree. That would be absolutely terrible. So if you haven't went out in the woods yet and you haven't checked your tree stand, please, please, please take a walk, go check your stand, make sure it's safe, and make sure everything's there so you can have a successful morning. The worst thing in the world is going to a stand and boom, I don't know, a big tree limb fell down through it and damaged it, or whatever the instance may be. You don't want to show up on the morning of and find some, either unsafe condition or, something that's just going to ruin your morning. I know that, you don't want to experience it. So let's just avoid it. So go out, take the time, go check your stand, make sure your gun rope's there. The other thing is whenever you get to your tree stand the day of, make sure you got your safety vest. Everybody should wear a safety vest. You never know when something freak thing's going to happen. Because just remember, even if you're going to go and check your tree stand, hey, I highly recommend checking your stand. But that doesn't guarantee that, there's a weld or a crack that you missed or you didn't see and something gives way. I know that's really sounding like somewhat negative, and I don't want to sound negative, but I think it's very important that you err on the side of safety. What's the big deal putting that safety harness on? It's for your safety. I don't know who you're hunting with. Maybe you got a little kid. Think about them. Tree stand breaks. That would be a terrible story to hear, that a child, fell out of a tree for their first hunt. What a horror story. We don't want that to happen. Safety harness, safety harness, safety harness. Make sure your safety harness fits you. If you haven't been to the store, you don't have a safety harness, go to the store. It's just like a pair of shoes. You don't want to be putting on a pair of shoes that don't fit. Safety harness is the same thing. Its function is to fit you. If it doesn't fit you, it's probably not going to work properly. I'm sure that's more than likely what the manufacturer's documentation is going to tell you. So it's very critical that you try it on and that you have a safety harness that's adequate for you personally. So just take the time. I know it might cost a little money to buy one, but guess what? You fall out of a tree stand, do you realize what that's going to cost you in medical bills, or for that matter, a funeral for your family? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. That's checking your tree stand. A little bit costs you a little bit of time. And yeah, a safety harness might cost you a little bit of money, but in the big scheme of things, that little bit of money is worth its weight in gold compared to something happening to you or one of your loved ones. So just remember that. Just think about those things. I'm not trying to harp on anybody, but the last thing I want to do is hear a horror story about somebody getting injured, just out enjoying the great outdoors. Nobody wants to hear that. We don't want to see it. I know I can't stress that enough about myself. I don't want to see or hear about anybody being hurt. But please make sure you're checking your tree stands. One thing I will say about tree stands, metal stands can last a lot longer, but your ratchet straps, that's something that'll dry rot and go bad, and you should check those, or change. I would recommend changing them out every year if it was me. That's what I do. Wooden tree stands, if you're somebody that's actually nailing or screwing into a tree and building it from the ground up, we'll say, you definitely need to check those, because number one, they'll dry rot. Number two, sometimes the tree will die from just building the tree stand. That's something to know, understand, and I highly recommend you being aware of it, because that happens a lot, where trees will just die from the nails being in the tree. If you're somebody that's going to do that, it's certainly wooden tree stands are a good hunting tactic. They've been used time and time again, but just be cognizant and conscientious that they do give way. They do dry rot, and that can be a concern, a safety concern for sure. That being said, I hope, beyond anything, I really hope that everybody is respectful of this great pastime in Pennsylvania. I know for me personally, it's a 365 day a year lifestyle. And when I say that, we've had putting out minerals in the spring and the summer for the deer, trying to get their antlers and their health, them in a good, healthy condition. Planting food plots, maintaining food plots, spraying fertilizer, liming the fields, planting fruit trees, putting up tree stands, cutting shooting lanes, practicing the bow, practicing the rifle. For me, this year I was blessed to shoot a really nice buck in archery season. So I'm super thankful for that. I haven't gotten to go over the years due to some health issues. So for me to get to go this year and to be able to achieve that really was a sincere blessing. And, all I can tell you is when you get to go out and you get to put in the work, put in the effort, and you get to experience the joy of your efforts. And just look, no matter how hard you work towards deer hunting, it is supposed to be an enjoyable experience. It's supposed to be something for you to do in your free time as a labor of love. If you're somebody that just does it a few days a year, hey, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also the people that, like myself, that are very involved in many aspects of the outdoors throughout the duration of the year. And at that spectrum, it's something that you find an appreciation for your efforts, for your sweat equity. And the thing I guess I'm trying to get at here is, when everybody goes out and hunts, despite how much effort you put into it, it's still the outdoors. And although I might personally have my own feelings about what the efforts I've put in, I will never detract from what anybody else does. But also, our time is valuable. So like when we get to hunt in Pennsylvania, it's a limited window. So something that's very important to me is please be respectful of everybody else. I can't stress this enough. I've seen people just be flat out rude and ignorant during hunting season. Hunting places they shouldn't be, trespassing on people's property. just doing stuff flat out just rude and ignorant. Um, and I hate to bring up about the trespass and some of these types of stories, but they happen. I hope and wish they did not happen, but they do happen. So please be respectful. If you're going to go on private property, please respect the landowners. You know, you might be a person that, back to my original point, you might be somebody that just has permission and you go and hunt on somebody's property. Well, if the landowner says, hey, I'm hunting with my family the first 3 days, you can come on the fourth day. Well, respect that. Or if the landowner says, hey, I want you to shoot some does if you're going to buck hunt. Hey, if that's what the person wants, then help to achieve the goal at hand so you have permission to hunt. Don't be littering on people's property. Some of this stuff seems like common sense, but, I've heard horror stories throughout the years just with different people. It doesn't seem like it would be ongoing. But it happens. Trespass, to me, I don't know. If you don't respect somebody's land, and basically you don't respect them as a person or as a human being. People that I know put in countless hours throughout the year taking care of their property. So to go and take advantage of somebody, I think, is just blatantly wrong. So, be respectful of landowners. And even if you're going on a game lands where it's public land, respect your fellow hunters. If you see somebody, if you go on a game lands and you see orange, go the other direction. Find somewhere else to hunt. Guess what? The early bird gets the worm. So if they were there before you, the early bird gets the worm. This isn't like you're combat fishing up in, Erie or even New York where, somebody's just going to slide in right next to you and cast over your shoulder. If you don't know that analogy, Google search it and you'll better understand. You'll probably get a chuckle out of it. But the point is, you're talking about guns, you're talking about safety, you're talking about the fact that you could injure somebody or somebody could injure you. So do not put yourself in a situation where you're anywhere near somebody. Get as far away as you can. Know and understand your surroundings. It's critical. Critical. Don't, especially like I'll hear people say about going on game lands, well, there was somebody in my spot. Well, I don't know what to tell anybody. You want to hunt game lands, that's a risk reward you take. You want to hunt private land, go pay for a lease, go put some sweat equity and help a farmer out, go do volunteer or do something. There's a lot of chances and opportunities to try to get on some private land if you just put forth the effort. You go into game lands, again, risk reward. You might go to a game lands where maybe there's nobody, maybe there's minimal people. Some of these game lands are absolutely massive. Yeah, you got to put in a lot of foot miles, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's put on some distance, and maybe you'll harvest a giant buck. It certainly is a possibility. But just be respectful of your fellow hunter. I guess that's the moral of this piece of the story: is be respectful of yourself, be respectful of the other hunter. But circling back, safety-wise, orange, wear your orange, know your gun, know your ammunition, make sure you got the right ammunition for your gun. Don't be putting a 7mm bullet in a 30-06. It's not going to work out too well for you. Don't want to see anything happening like that. So always check that ammo. Make sure your gun's clean. Make sure your gun's operating properly. You better go to the rifle range and know where the heck your gun's shooting. You don't want to be shooting a high-powered rifle when you don't know where it's hitting. So safety. Check the tree stands. Check your ladders. Check your safety harnesses. Check those ratchet straps. These are basic things that you can do to protect yourself and protect others. Can't stress that enough. You don't want to put yourself in a dire situation. I've seen too many horror stories in the news. Basic things, folks. You get out of your vehicle in the morning, it's pitch black. That gun better be on safety. You go and are walking to your tree stand, you know, I've seen stories where somebody slipped and fell and the gun was on fire, shot somebody. Like, for goodness sakes, folks, if you're walking, have the gun on. I mean, even if you're on a drive, like, goodness sakes, that gun better be on safe. Safety 101. Have it pointed in a safe direction. Just remember, you don't ever point a gun at a person. Never, ever point a gun at a person. Never, ever point a gun at a human being. Period. End of story. Non-negotiable. You know, there's no reason whatsoever to be out hunting and to be pointing a gun at a person. You know, too many stories. Slips, trips, and falls, gun goes off. Boom, somebody's getting shot. You don't want that to be you. You don't want that story. You don't want somebody knocking on your door. So just make sure, like, these little things. It might sound like I'm repeating something some of you have heard a million times, but for some of you, I hope it just makes you think a little bit. So when you're going to cross that fence, unload that gun. Load it back up whenever you cross. Safety first. You know, crossing that stream and you think you're going to slip and fall or something, unload the gun. It's not a big deal. It takes a few moments. It's really not, you know, the end of the world. It's not going to ruin your day. Just take a few moments, folks. Seriously. The other thing I want to say is if you did invest a little bit of money and you're going to shoot farther than, we'll just say, a couple 100 yards, you should go buy a rangefinder. You can buy them now extremely reasonably. Holy smokes, you know, they sell the golf ones at different sporting goods stores. You can buy a rangefinder for $150. But again, if you're going to be shooting distances beyond 200 yards, you need to know your distance, not only for safety purposes, but also to adequately and effectively harvest a deer. The worst thing in the world that I've seen, honestly, two things that I've seen over the years. You'll be hunting, hear a gun go off, and then you'll literally hear a bullet zinging through the air, you know, just in that general area. I've had it happen before where people were on public land, somebody shoots, misses their deer, and boom, bullet ricochets, and you can hear it actually cutting through the air. And then the other thing is just seeing these deer with like blown off legs. You know, that's just somebody not knowing where they're aiming, or lack of practice in advance, or pulled up and hit a limb, you know, didn't, you know, maybe had something in their vision, or in the line of sight whenever they shot. But, you know, I think the safety aspect, again, I can't stress, of the hunting whenever you're dealing with rifles, but also just the sportsman aspect of it. Being able to effectively and efficiently harvest an animal. For goodness sakes, you don't want to see deer walking around with a leg blown off, or a deer with a foot hanging. I've seen that numerous times over the years. It's very sad to see, but it happens. I know mistakes do happen, but you know, it's important that we talk about it, because hopefully talking about it makes you think about it, gets you to acknowledge the fact about practicing a little bit more, knowing your firearm a little bit better, ammunition, distances, safety aspects, make sure that orange is on, making sure your tree stands safe, making sure your safety harness is good. All these little things go into having an enjoyable outdoor experience. Keeps you safe, keeps everybody else safe. It makes fantastic memories that you can carry on for your whole life. But that being said, just kind of looking ahead with the Marion Outdoorsman Association, I want to highlight the fact that December 11th, which is a Monday, we're going to be stocking trout. That'll be the third trout stocking of the fall alone. It's actually going to be a really big stocking. We just had an amazing rain. I'm so excited about it. Actually, I feel like we've been in a 3-month drought here in southwestern Pennsylvania. I feel like rain was hitting central PA, northern PA, eastern PA, and it's like literally missing southwest PA all the time since like August. and it's just been terrible. We've been in very poor conditions. But I'm so excited. We got great water levels right now. We just had a blowout rain. Got the water clearing out the streams. So we're really excited about this trout stocking. Monday, December 11th, we always meet at Wild Acres Farm. That's where our main creek access is. The address is 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. Everybody's welcome. We always open this up to everybody. So if you've never experienced, if you've never had the opportunity or never experienced a trout stocking, please come check it out. We'd love to have you. And looking ahead, January, February, March, April, May, possibly June, we'll be stocking every month. June's always a question mark because it seems like the past 2 years, we've had like the last 2 weeks of June, or I'm sorry, the last 2 weeks of May into early June. We've had very warm conditions with little to no rain, which is very counterintuitive when it comes to trout stocking. So it just kind of depends on this. We'll just say the weather conditions at that time of the year here in southwestern Pennsylvania. But you can guarantee this, that for the next 6 months at a minimum, we're going to have fantastic trout fishing. We would love to have you. If you want to come try it out for a day, we have $60 a day passes. If you want to join as a member, again, MarianaOutdoors.com, or you can stop at the MOA Bait and Tackle Shop. That's at 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA, 15322. I'm hoping that this is not only going to be a successful deer season for you, but I hope that in the future on upcoming shows and episodes, I'm going to be able to share some highlights of some of the guided hunts that I'm going to be doing this year. I'm really excited. I love to see the smiles on everybody's faces. I cannot stress that enough. That's an amazing thing for me, because putting in the work and the effort, not only that I was able to harvest a deer, but also for these other folks to put a smile on their face, and hopefully to get somebody a deer that's a mount worthy deer that they can put on their wall. That's important to me. So please, when in regards to the deer hunting, safety first. I just want to highlight that again. And I wish each and every one of you nothing but the best. I hope that you have a successful deer season. I hope that, you get the biggest buck around. I hope you have some stories to tell with friends and family. And, it's going to be fun. It even looks like we're going to have great weather in Pennsylvania for opening day. I don't want to speak for the whole state, but I know Southwest PA is looking really good. I'm excited about that because it's not hot, it's not cold. It looks like it's going to be in the low 40s. That's fantastic. That means I'm sure that people are going to be out and about, probably pushing deer, and going to be on the move. So it should be a pretty action-packed opening day of rifle season, especially in southwestern Pennsylvania. But I hope across the board everybody has an amazing experience. Really looking forward to next year and the following year, because I'll be circling back on the conversation, but the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau passed Sunday hunting internally, and I'm really hopeful that with the support of the Farm Bureau that the state legislature of Pennsylvania will take action and push the ball across the finish line. And I hope that sportsmen and farmers and those in the agricultural community can all collaborate and work together moving forward, because I think that's something that's been a bit lacking in the past. But things change, and I think that I see a lot of tremendous partnerships, friendships, relationships moving forward to just better Pennsylvania as a whole. Also, Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds, we're going to be doing upland bird hunts all the way until roughly March. So if you want to book a hunt, whether that's a guided hunt with an actual guide, typically it's 2 to 4 people, Normally people like to come with 4, but if you're looking to do a field hunt in that capacity, dogs are provided. It's a great experience. You can do a mixed bag with chuckers, pheasants, or if you want to do straight pheasants, straight chuckers, totally your choice. And also highlight the fact that if you want to do a spring turkey hunt, we still have a few spots available, not very many, but we do have a few spots available. And then deer hunts for 2024 are currently available. So all those options are there on the table for everyone. Please check us out, 10mileco.org. Again, Wild Acres Farm, which is managed by 10 Mile Creek Outfitters. That's where the lodge is at. That's where you stay, and then you basically move out from there to places to hunt when it comes to the free-ranging deer and also free-ranging turkey. No fences, absolutely 0 fences. We don't do any of the fence stuff. If you're looking for fences, this isn't the place. But if you're looking for free range, if you're looking for upland birds as close to South Dakota as possible, we're definitely the spot. And if you want to just come check us out and take a tour, I'm always open. Phone number 724-579-0924. Again, that's 724-579-0924. Would love to have you. Again, the door is always open. We have a lot of great things on the horizon, from deer hunting season to trout stockings to turkey season in the spring, and there's a lot of other cool and great things that'll be taking place in between. But for now, I'm Jason White. This is the Great Outdoors. God bless you. Please be safe. Enjoy hunting in Pennsylvania and make some memories with you, your family, friends, and hey, maybe you'll make some new ones along the way. God bless.